Oh, Becky, she has that good hair. She's basic. She's brown. Well, she's not brown. You'll see what I mean. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Harley Nouveau, if you did not know. And today I have the next in my, what is going to be a very long series, where I review Colourpop's 9-pan monochromatic eyeshadow palettes. Today is also going to be rather boring because this is not a colorful palette, as I'm sure you could tell. Also, I know it probably looks like I wear like the same 3 things on rotation. This is actually a different sweater than my all solid gray one. When you're limited to shopping from Walmart, your fashion can only be so diverse. Before we begin, please like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel, add your name to the storybook that is my life, and if you do, ring the bell down below somewhere so that you'll get notified whenever I upload. And if you want to skip to the actual review portion of this video so you don't hear my story, I'll also put that timestamp in one of these bottom corners. So this story actually kind of pertains to this and a couple other palettes because, as you know, if you followed me, I move around a lot. When I moved into Jasmine's apartment, I kind of had very short notice to do so I just haphazardly threw everything into a suitcase that was a cosmetic product. I wasn't really even with it. I wasn't careful. I didn't plan it. I just shoved it in there, smashed it shut, moved on my merry way. When I went to start unpacking, I noticed a very strange smell coming from the suitcase. And I thought maybe it was like hairspray or something, but it smelled kind of strange. And as I was unpacking it, I realized that my Neutrogena spray-on sunblock had emptied itself because when I packed it in there, it just pressed the lever down and sprayed all over everything I own. And that's not a big deal. I mean, it's like $7. I prefer to set my makeup with that because it's extra SPF. The problem is that in that suitcase, I also put a container of batteries. And I don't know if it was the pressure, if it was the chemical from the sunblock, what it was, but this batteries proceeded to explode over quite a few items of mine and got battery acid everywhere, and that was the weird burning smell that I had. Now, nothing was ruined per se, except for the packaging on like half of these palettes. And when it destroyed the packaging, it also kind of got onto some of the products. So today's video, the palette that we're talking about, you might be able to see it here. That sticky stuff actually is from the battery acid. I could not get it off. This one isn't as messed up as this one, which you can tell kind of melted off part of the label. It still works. So in today's review, as I'm sure you gathered from the title and the fact I just showed it, we are going to be talking about the Brown Sugar palette. Oh yes. This is a collaboration from Karish. I don't know how to say that, but this person in Colourpop. And if it weren't for the fact that I'm obsessed with collecting every single one of these, I probably would have passed this over because you know I'm not really into neutrals. According to the website,
add dimension with 6 matte shadows and a pop of glitz with 3 metallic shades. Wear it alone to create your own everyday look, or pair it with your favorite colorful palette for transitions and depth. She's your new go-to.
This does retail for $15. As I said, she is a neutral 9-pan palette, and there are 9 specifically 0.04 ounce shadows in here. And in order they are: Chai is a matte soft yellow beige, Jamocha is a matte mid-tone yellow brown, Amber is a matte muted rust orange, Ginger is a metallic golden peach, Auburn is a metallic warm bronze, Sauté is a metallic icy brown with green and gold duochrome sheen, Sorrel is matte deep cool brown, Henna is a matte charcoal brown, and Chalk is a matte reddish brown. Here's the deal. You know that I'm not the most neutral Nelly. I'm not a big fan of like browns and just muted color stories for the most part. Now, my Instagram feed and some of the looks that I wear in these videos might indicate otherwise, but that's because I'm trying to be as diverse as possible. I don't want to be coming on every time looking like I just have the same makeup in a slightly different tone, like some more famous influencers out there. And I'm gonna try to avoid letting that cloud my judgment because I've found that a lot of beauty gurus, when they review a product, they don't really approach it from the perspective of how well the product works, so much as how well they like it for themselves. For instance, Raw Beauty Christie,
it's just makeup,
who is one of my favorite YouTubers. She, every time she reviews a tinted moisturizer or a skin veil, always has really negative things to say about it because she doesn't like that. She's into full coverage. But because of that, she doesn't really approach it from how well it works for its purpose. She approaches it from the perspective of how little coverage it has. And since it's not meant to have full coverage, it's not going to have full coverage. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I'm not going to approach this review like that. And if I do, feel free to call me out in the comments below. So when it comes to the packaging itself, it's pretty run-of-the-mill standard Colourpop 9-pan monochromatic palette packaging. Does have the names on the back, as you can see here with that battery acid. It's just plastic. It's a pretty cheap component. It doesn't bother me as much. I wish it was cardboard just for environmental sake, but you know, I don't work at Colourpop. Inside, there's a nice mirror that you can see my setup in and all of the shadows inside. Similar to like half of these, this does not have a pressed glitter. Glitter is one of those things that I'm on the fence about because environmentally, again, not really that great. Glitter is terrible for the environment, specifically, you know, the plastic kind. They do have some products that replicate the effect of a glitter without being the same consistency, though, so they are more environmentally friendly and less harmful for your eye, more importantly. I'm trying to remember the name. There's this company. I'll try to include a picture of it if I find it. It's like little pieces of metallic eyeshadow so that it replicates the effect of glitter, but it's eyeshadow, so it's safe. I'm being redundant. I do think that something like that, or even the glitter, would break up the monotony of this packaging. I find that the ones that don't include something like that are not as impressive and versatile to me. I know that seems stupid to say for a monochromatic palette, but you know, I like what I like and I'm allowed to like what I like. As far as how the shades go themselves, you'll see some footage up here of me putting on the shadows on 2 different looks. I've used this multiple times, so my opinion has been formulated over trial and error. In today's look, I specifically only used these right here and then this as my soft liner. It performs about as you would expect a Colourpop eyeshadow palette to perform. So as far as the formulation goes, I think that it's good. There's not much variation there. Occasionally you'll run across a palette where it seems like it's a little wonky. I think that I had that issue with my last monochromatic palette review. Well, I'm gonna really talk more about the color story, and I'll go in order. So for Amber, I actually really like the way that that looks, and I don't know how well you can tell it because I put some other colors on top of it, but it's a really nice transition color, and if you're going for something more toned down and natural, you could easily just stick to that and maybe a little bit of a shimmer and you'd be good to go. I really liked the way that it looked on my skin specifically. I'm not sure how it'll look on darker skin tones. No, I can only speak from the perspective of a very pale white man. For Jamocha, it says on the website that it's supposed to give off the color of like a yellow tone brown, and to me it really does not read as yellow as it does orange. I feel like it looks very warm. In fact, when I wore this for my most recent look, which I did for the print and the pea-sized review, I had a little bit of feedback on my Instagram that it came across as peach, and since this is an all brown palette, it's very strange, wouldn't you think? I do, however, like the way that it came out. It's just not the color that you're told it's going to be. For Amber, I feel like it's very true to color when you put it on. I think that's why I got as much feedback about my eye being so warm the other day as I did, because that was pretty much the all over lid color, and it blends out really nicely. For Ginger, I had that all over my lid today and on my inner corner a little bit. I feel like it is not as bright as I would expect it to be since I put it on top of literally just my eyelid, so it's not like there's anything dulling it out. I do think that it could have been a little bit brighter to me, especially because as a highlighting shade, you know, all of these palettes come with something that you could use as a highlight. I feel like it's a little bit too dull, if that makes any sense. The middle shade, Auburn, I have it on my lower lash line a little bit towards the inner corner. I don't know how well you can read that. I actually really like the way that this performs. I feel like of the three metallics in this palette, that one's definitely my favorite. I haven't really done a look with it all over my lid yet because I'm trying to be experimental, but I definitely think it's the standout. For Sauté, in the palette, I feel like it looks like it's gonna be so unique and cool toned. And when I used it, it doesn't come across the way that you would expect it to. It says on the website that it has a gold and green duochrome. I feel like that doesn't really read to me when it's on. Like I said, it's just, you can kind of see it very slightly, but it just looks ashy to me. Every time I've used it in a look, I really just don't like the way that it comes out, if that makes any sense. I just don't like the way that it makes the eye look overall, and I don't like the way that the color reads on camera, off camera, outside. I'm just probably my least favorite color on the palette, if I'm getting honest with you. For Sorel, I kind of like it. I feel like when you blend it out, it really doesn't look as different from these two as you would expect it to, but it looks pretty nice. I have it on right here, like closest to the shimmer, and it adds a little bit of dimension, but I feel like it could be a tad bit more different. I actually have henna on as a liner, as I've already told you guys. I really love the way that that color comes out. It's very ash toned, it's very pigmented, and I feel like it makes it look more dramatic. It really deepens everything up, and because it isn't as warm, it helps neutralize some of the warmth of the other shadows when you combine it with them. I really love using it as a liner. It actually looks very similar to my brow color, which I'm kind of digging. And then Chalk at the very end, very warm tone. Like I've said before, I used that for the other look that people accused of being peach and orange. And it's very rustic looking. You can see in the container, but that one comes pretty true to form onto the eye. I did encounter a little bit of an issue when it came to blending that out. I feel like it got a little bit patchy, but just layering the colors together really helped with that issue. Now, when it comes to the palette overall, as a whole, the color story is nice, I guess. If the purpose that it is all supposed to be leaning more towards the warm tone, I can get that. Like I've said, they've had more monochromatic palettes come out since this, like the Going Coconuts that everyone ironically went nuts over. That one I feel like was a good mix of neutral, warm, and cool tones. This one, Brown Sugar, just pretty much reads as warm all of the time, with the exception of that one shade I said that I lined my eye with, henna, and Sauté, which was the disappointing metallic color. And for that reason, I feel like if you're really into warm eyes, it's great, but if you want something a little more versatile in your monochrome palette, it's a bit of an issue. Also, I have an issue overall with the metallics because I feel like the only one that really performed the way I would expect it to was this auburn color in the middle on my lower lash line, which I used a minimal amount of. But it reads very true to form and it looks really nice. But Ginger comes off a little bit darker on me than I would expect it to. And as I've said, Sauté, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's probably the most disappointing metallic color I have tried from Colourpop to date. And it shouldn't have been, because it was the one I was most excited for out of all the metallics in here. I think in the grand scheme of things, this definitely is not my favorite monochromatic palette I've tried. I feel like it's more limiting in terms of what you can do. Overall, if you are someone like Manny MUA, who really loves having a warm eye, this is definitely something that you'd probably be into. And I say this as someone not judging this from the stance of it being a neutral palette. I really don't like how warm the whole thing reads. The whole reason I got into these 9-pan monochromatic palettes is that you get like a small travel size color story that has a little bit of versatility, but you can really like plan out what you want to do well. For this one, when it comes to something like brown, which is a more neutral tone, I would like it to be a little more diverse, because if this had been 3 neutrals, 3 warms, and 3 cools, I feel like it would have been a lot better. when you look at the whole story overall, I honestly feel like they should have taken out one of these and added, I'm not gonna say a glitter, but something a little more, something different besides matte or metallic, just to add a little bit of more variety with the palette overall. I think that also the fact that a couple of these don't perform the same on the skin as they look in the palette, like the color looks a bit different. It's very misleading because when you look at it, it does look like you'll get a little bit of variety with it, but then when you put it on, you pretty much get the same 2 color stories. And I'm not really the biggest fan of that, to be honest with you. I really want to try out the Going Coconuts palette because I hear it solves all the problems that I'm looking for. While mostly it performed overall, to me, the fact that half the colors don't look the same as they do in the palette, the fact that this metallic is so lackluster and this one is just completely false, I have to say, if you're somebody looking for a brown travel size palette, this is not something I would recommend. And for that reason, unfortunately, the Brown Sugar palette by Colourpop, and whoever that is a happily never after for me. We have a few other brands that are more competitive with the price point of Colourpop that I feel like you can get a very good neutral palette from that would be more diverse and that would give you a little bit more freedom in what you want to do. I mean, I carry this with me probably okay. Maybe I'd pull this around, but it's not something that really excites me in any way, shape, or form. And I don't just mean because it's brown. I mean because it's so warm. It's such a warm brown palette. Maybe that's the intention and I wasn't getting that, but you know, I'm only human. So yeah, if you've tried this out, let me know how you feel about it down below. Do you have different thoughts from me? Do you feel the same way? Do you disagree? So let me know. The whole point about a community is that there's communication involved. Other than that, yeah, womp womp. That's all that she wrote for this chapter of my story. So as always, I am Harley Nouveau. And until our stars next time.